My name is Kellin Slater. My advisor is Dr. Maggie Clark, and I am doing work on Sewor, which is the Sustainable Household Energy Adoption for Rwanda project, working on baseline lung function for boys, girls, men, and women.
So we work with the same advisor, Dr. Maggie Clark, in the Environmental and Radiological Health Sciences Department. We are on the same project, the Sewor project. Essentially, I work primarily looking at the impact of household air pollution on the blood pressure of children and adults.
So the main purpose of Sewor is kind of threefold. We want to understand health impacts from household air pollution. We want to understand the cost-use scenario for introducing things like solar and LPG, and we also want to understand kind of the exposure response for a lot of these health outcomes. We're just trying to characterize the environment in which rural Rwandans are living in during this time and hopefully give feedback to the government and find a feasible way to move forward.
There are a lot of things that can cause household air pollution from the environment, so from like the cooking stuff and from the lighting.
So in general, we're doing a randomized control trial, meaning a group of people get the intervention and a group of people do not. And so what's interesting about the way we're conducting our randomized control trial is that there's really three arms, right? So we have the group that doesn't get anything, they continue on as normal, with the caveat that at the end of the study they'll get a year's supply of LPG so that they also can have the benefits of the intervention. Now the treatment arm, which is the arm that receives the solar and the LPG, it's twofold. So there are people who get a full subsidy, meaning that everything, all the price is taken care of. And then we have a random subsidy, so every month families who pull the random subsidy arm pull the price that they're paying out of a bag. So it's subsidized to a certain extent. So it's between 10 and 90% subsidy that they can receive. So we want to understand fuel stacking, which is how energy transition works. And when we talk about fuel stocking, we're talking about, are they still using their traditional stoves, and to what extent in combination with the new stoves that they've been trained to use and have been given. Like Christian does here, he does kind of anthropometry, blood pressure. Everybody receives that. For what I do, for spirometry, just kind of characterizing lung function, children are tested more than adults because we want to understand lung function development over the life course a little bit more. And then adults are tested at the beginning and the end of the study to see if there's been any improvement in their lung function. And we just want to understand at nose level, where you're breathing, what is your exposure to particulate matter, black carbon, heavy metals. The UPass allows us to do a little bit of source apportionment. So how much dust are you getting? What types of heavy metals are you encountering? What is your exposure to cooking, to agriculture, because this is a heavily agricultural community. We're hoping to understand a lot more about what their personal exposure is, and we're hoping to use that 48-hour period to approximate what their total exposure is per day.
When you are there on the field, like the struggle is real. Like sometimes you really need that external support to address some of these problems. And I think the nice thing about, at least about the Sewor project, is the fact that this is a problem that we are trying to solve, that the people themselves are actually actively participating in it. And I think that's the beauty of it, really. So we understand the problem, people in that rural context understand the problem, they know where the issues are, but generally the problem is like, we know the problem, but how can we offer solutions, really? And they are aware of the solutions that we need, but again, where do we get the funding to support that? And that's where like external agencies, like researchers like ourselves, actually really play a critical role.
They're highly exposed, which is what we expected. And so we're hoping that our intervention and our treatments will reduce exposure significantly, at least in terms of household and indoor air pollution. It's very hard to balance wanting to be a good scientist with wanting to be a good community member, and also not have like this patriarchal kind of elitist view of things, which I have seen and I do my best not to participate in. Because ultimately we're here to be of service to people and help them advocate for themselves and their health.
When you're working within a rural setting, sometimes I really want to, appreciate the dynamics of, engaging like in the community, like community leaders. How does that go about? Like, trying to understand their concerns.
Ultimately, I wouldn't trade any of my fieldwork experiences for anything. I think they've made me a better, well-rounded person, and I've learned to appreciate like the beauty and kind of the majesty of rural Rwanda and all the lovely people that I've met, which motivates me to be a better epidemiologist. You have to have a result in order for it to matter, but in reality, you've already done everything that mattered. You showed that you cared, you did your best, you talked to the community, you worked with them, and if they feel a difference, if they see a difference, that's what's actually important. I think it's really important to talk about air pollution, household air pollution, health effects, health endpoints in these low resource settings, because if those who are the least protected amongst us are protected, then everybody is. It's a bottom-up approach, because this is always going to be a problem, right? Until we finally get to a place where everybody has what they need, somebody's going to fall behind. And I think it is our job as scientists, but also human beings, to advocate for those who don't have the same resources that we do, and just be of service to them as global citizens.
In Africa, one of the major things that we need is like an actual government interest, because like I remember anytime we spoke about air pollution, when we speak about air pollution back home, we always talk about the fact that like it doesn't seem to have that political support. And I think that for me, I'm hoping that, I mean, once I graduate from a program like in CSU, hopefully as part of my research, I've been engaging with policymakers, trying to understand this problem, trying to offer solutions, because we really need that interest. We really need that sense of political commitment towards it. So hopefully trying to address this problem that impacts, I mean,